So the last part in our video series here is how much you'll get for your disaster money. Um, Comparing PLC and ARC. If you're in PLC, you can also be in SCO, which is the supplemental coverage option that you can buy through the crop insurance end. So it's like being in a disaster program through the FSA and PLC, and in a yield and price-based one on the crop insurance side in SCO, which we'll get into here. So the PLC and ARC payments were issued in October of the 2015 crop year. So you just got that last fall for 2015. Wheat triggered at 61 cents a bushel. Barley didn't have a payment. With sequestration, which is the government's way of reducing the budget across the board for all departments, you end up losing about 6% of that. So really you only got paid on 57 cents a bushel instead of 61 on the PLC. So just for an example, if you had a 35 bushel wheat yield at the FSA, you'd receive $20 an acre on 85% of your base in October. ARC paid 24 bucks an acre on wheat for 2015 last year, and $27 an acre for barley. So if you were in ARC on barley, you actually did a little better than PLC, but I think that's going to flip-flop going forward here. Wheat about the same, but there's going to be a huge spread now on wheat going forward, which you'll see. So for the most part, to sum this up, you'd be better off being in PLC and SCO at the same time, and we'll get into why that is. So what about next year? So 2016 obviously was not a very good market year. You will get that disaster money in the fall of this year, or the fall of 2017. Wheat's projecting some huge payments for PLC, lower payments for ARC County, because as the price goes down, the ARC County guarantee continues to go down. As the price goes down, though, the PLC payments continue to ramp up just because of how the programs function. So wheat right now, we're a good 70 to 80% into the average on that on PLC, and they're projecting $1.65 a bushel payment. So 3 times what you got last year, you should get next fall for your wheat base. So basically take whatever you got for a PLC payment last year, take it times 3, and that's what you can expect more or less, maybe slightly less, but pretty much for the 2016 crop year that you're going to get in the fall of 2017. We're over half into the average already in this presentation now. And then, so for example, if you had that same 35 bushel an acre FSA yield, now you're going to get $1.65 a bushel on your 35 bushel FSA yield for that farm. So $57 an acre compared to the $20 an acre it was in the previous slide, right? You don't have to seed wheat to get this payment. You just have to have wheat base at the FSA. How do they come up with these? Every month they average the national average wheat, barley, oats, whatever price in the whole nation. And however far that price falls below these statutory reference prices, that's how much your PLC payment will be triggered at. So this one is a February. It's going to be, it was the same for March. I should have posted a new slide here, but right now wheat, the national average for wheat is $3.85. Once it gets below $5.50 on PLC, it starts to trigger. So you're looking at a $1.65 payment on PLC for the 2016 crop year that you'll get in the fall of 2017. Barley right now is right on the edge of paying. I expect that this national market year average number for barley should go down before this average finishes out, because open market barley is incredibly poor. There's some feed barley price mixed in here. So hopefully this triggers roughly, we're guessing, a 50 cent a bushel payment. Next year barley is going to trigger quite a large payment, almost for sure, because all the contracts are below this $4.95 price pretty much for barley. So between contracts, open market, and feed, I think next year you could be looking at bigger payments possibly on barley than wheat, depending on what happens with these markets. So, but for this year, for 2016, for what you're going to get in 2017, if you figure, we're guessing 50 cents a bushel. I don't know, we might be a little high on that, but we're going to use that for our example here. So 80% of this average for wheat is figured by the end of January. So that price that I had released in February would have been through January, basically. They weight these different months more heavily in June, July, and August, because that's when a lot of the winter wheat's cut in the Midwest. That's when a bunch of the cash sales happen. So June, July, and August make up a large part of the weighting in this price, because that's when a large chunk of those bushels are sold. By the time we get out into where we're at now, there's not a whole lot of average left to go into this thing. So even if the wheat market goes up the next couple of months, this price is going to come out relatively close to that $1.65 on wheat. Is the point here. So what about SCO? I think SCO has a decent chance to pay on barley and peas in Toole County because we had a huge hail event. And the smooth pea price went down 10%, so that's going to help it some because it triggers on revenue and price, this SCO program. The barley price was down almost 20%, plus we had hail. So there's no way to know till April 15th whether that program is going to pay for the 2016 crop year, but I think there's a good chance of it. So that's how we're going to run this scenario. The rest of the crops, obviously all of them, we're going to have to wait and see. This will be paid out in April of this year if there's a payment, basically. So by April 15th, it will release those yields. By the end of April, we'll know if it's going to trigger payments for the 2016 crop year. This paid out a lot in 2015, helped a lot of growers with a pretty tough time and some drought situations there. So here's how it would work. I'm not going to go through acre by acre what we have here, but basically we have 2,750 acres of crop on our farm that's mixed between these crops. As far as base acres at the FSA, we have 1,700 base acres of wheat, 920 base acres of barley. That number doesn't change no matter what we seed in the current crop year up here, because these are historical averages for the FSA that every now and then they'll let us redo. But for now, with this farm program, we're rolling forward here with these base acres for our farm. The only thing that we don't have an SCO on our farm was peyote hay last year because that's an annual forage crop. And remember, we can't insure annual forage crops and multi-peril, but all the rest of these have SCO stacked on top, the county disaster program on top of the underlying coverage. So here's a probable example for our farm for 2016. So we're going to say Wendy's whole farm is enrolled in PLC, which it is. So we're going to look at the estimated payments for 2016 for that. On our 1,700 base acres of wheat, remember from the previous slide, we only get paid on 85% of the base on these FSA programs, whether it's PLC or ARC. So we have 1,445 payable acres of wheat times a $59 an acre payment. That's figuring the sequestration in there. So we'd end up with $85,977 PLC payment this next fall for 2016. $21,000 in the barley, figuring 50 cents a bushel. So our total PLC money would be $107,000 for this farm, for a farm that's running roughly 3,000 acres of crop a year. Most likely 7% of that will be sequestered. Had we elected ARC, the most we can get on ARC for wheat for our county's $24 an acre. This is assuming that it triggers a full payment. So $34,000 if it triggers a full payment. On the barley, we'd get $21,000. So just between our elections on the two FSA programs, we'd be looking at $55,000 in ARC maxed out versus PLC for what we're predicting. It's $51,000 higher payment for being in PLC. But because we're in PLC, we also qualify for the crop insurance disaster program that we paid into, which is SCO. So if prices stay at current levels, it's much more likely the PLC will pay than ARC, because as the price declines, your ARC guarantee goes down and it gets harder to get paid a revenue loss on it. So let's see what SCO will add to our payout for this next year. This is my best guess. So we're going to say, like we said, that barley's going to pay on our SCO for the county. Wheat, maybe not, because we had pretty good wheat yield, so we're going to say it's not. So we're getting 0 out of the wheat. We're going to get all this money out of the barley. The peas might quite possibly pay because of the huge hail disaster. The canola, we're not sure, but probably not. So we're going to say 2 of our crops are going to trigger our SCO money payment, 2 not. Our probable SCO payout would be $42,000 for the farm. We'll know that in April, plus our PLC. So we get $149,000 in disaster money between the crop insurance and the FSA. Had we elected ARC, we couldn't be in SCO as well, and we'd only be a $55,000 payout in ARC, which is probably a high guess for that. So the total payout difference, just because we elected PLC and we paid the little extra money for the SCO and the crop insurance, we're looking at a $93,000 difference in our disaster money payout. This has nothing to do with our underlying crop insurance. These are just the disaster programs, just on this farm. The premium coverage for our SCO in 2016 was $8,600. So you can see last year we got all of our SCO money, so that helped a bunch. For 2016, I'm predicting we're going to get it on 2 of these crops. That'd be $8,600 in premium for a $42,000 payout, basically. All of this without having a payable loss on our individual multi-peril policy. So, moral of the story, we really push the SCO product because I think it really helps in a drought or a big price decline situation. If you want to understand more about how that works, You can go to our website and watch the fall crop insurance update meeting. There's some slides specific just to SEO in there that'll explain the intricacies of how that program works. But basically, you pay some money in, and then if the county triggers less than 86% average, it will trigger a loss on the SEO side for you based off the county's average, what'll add to your disaster pool money through the crop insurance. So thanks so much for watching this. I'm sure you have questions. You can feel free to email me. That email is on my website, or you can call anytime you want. And we'll also post this on our Facebook page, and you can message us through there. So thanks again. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next fall.